Hey, camera. And action.
Get up, put this on, we're going to that movie.
It's a heartwarming show. It's really funny and loving.
And it's all real. It comes from a real kind of soul place.
A lot of shows are very joke-driven. This show is situational and character-driven.
It's a family comedy with heart.
And cut.
When I went around town pitching this show, my pitch was basically the Wonder Years in the 80s.
Just a whole lot of crazy. Oh, look at that little geek right there. That's me, Adam Goldberg.
Every 10 years, be it the 70s show or Happy Days or the Wonder Years, there's that nostalgic look back at a simpler time.
The beauty of the show is that everybody can relate.
I videotaped my entire childhood because I was a lonely kid with a lot of time on my hands.
Years ago, before he had kids, he showed me, he's like, here's a tape of my crazy family. And I was like, dude, that's a show. And I really think it took Adam having kids of his own to be able to understand what it is to be a parent and see the show from all sides rather than just the point of view of the kid who was shooting himself because he had no friends.
That was how the show was born. It was me showing my home movies to a producer.
I remember there being a home video of Eric yelling at the entire family at the dinner table, and he said some pretty mean things, but it was really entertaining to watch, especially, knowing that that was a real situation that happened.
People assume I exaggerate and that these stories can't be true. The reality is I had to pull back.
We already get comments like, oh, no one would do that. No mom would buy her son a locket.
What the hell is this?
This mom did buy her son a locket, okay? But she does it all from love.
At the time, everyone wanted Wendy. It was kind of a bake-off, and I think got her to do the show by just showing her videos of my mom screaming and saying the F word and calling us idiots, and she was like, this is a woman I want to play.
I saw this woman, and she went from 0 to 60 and back to 0 again, like within the same sentence.
Every time I see her on set, I'm like, thank God she agreed to do this.
The thing that appeals to me about her is that if I had any kids of my own, I would be the exact same way. I hate to say it, but I would be a smother myself.
Now, how about a little something sweet for me?
Mom, do we have to do this every morning?
It's been 4 days since I've gotten a Huggy. I'm jonesing. I need my fix.
Wendy is the funniest. In a dramatic scene, she'll make me laugh.
She's game to just do it, and she's just great to work with.
Dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun.
Beverly always says I failed as a mother, because I think every time I talk to my mom, she says I failed as a mother.
He's not in the emergency room or the police station or the roller rink or the batting cages or any of the 4 ice cream shops in the green zone, and I have failed as a mother.
You're good at other things. I saw highlights of different, of things with his family, and I read the script both on the same day, and at that point, I was very interested in doing it.
When we heard that Jeff read it and wanted to do it, I was so thrilled because he literally is my dad. I say I hired my dad to play my dad.
Daddy's gonna teach you a very valuable life lesson here, okay? If you never admit you're wrong, you're never wrong. I learn my lines and I try not to bump into the furniture. I just play it like a version of me. It's not like me, but it's kinda, I didn't do a lot of thinking about it.
Working with Jeff is just so funny. You never know what's gonna happen next.
He makes us laugh after they've already said action, and then I forget my lines.
I don't want to say something nice.
Mom, if he does not wear his pants and stop speaking French gibberish, I will leave this house forever.
First person we saw for Erica happened to be Haley, who came in and did a great reading.
He's not too old for me.
He's in college, Erica!
Wrong. He dropped out to start a band.
I don't have a sister, so a lot of those stories come from the other writers on the show, the female writers who have these great stories about breakups and defying their mom and that relationship and the dynamics with their parents.
Having to transform Eric Goldberg into Erica Goldberg, it was easy enough to where you have the same traits. She harasses her younger brothers and it's kind of tough and rebellious. So all those things stay the same, but obviously making it into kind of this emotional teenage girl.
Haley is the most normal of the 3.
She has more natural talent than anybody I know.
And then.
I can't understand you.
She said Drew Krem drove her home today in a sweet Mustang and dumped her out of nowhere.
How the hell did you understand her?
As most of you know, I've spent majority of my life hysterical and emotionally out of control.
Barry was really hard to cast because it's that combination of being sweet but also completely flipping out at a drop's notice.
The amount of suck in this room is unreal. I'm going to the movies.
We saw a lot of kids who seemed to say the lines but not have the Barry spirit. Troy, from the minute we saw him, A, he looks like Jeff Garlin, and B, when he yells, it's just so funny.
I auditioned for it 9 times.
We kept bringing him back over and over because we had to audition him with somebody else to show ABC, here are 2 actors. So we just kept saying to Troy, come back over and over.
I tested for it 3 times, and I did 2 table readings.
Finally, there was no time left, and he just got it.
No, no, no!
What the hell is his deal?
Where the hell's my Sports Illustrated football phone? It's hard sometimes every take. You have to have that Barry energy with you, but yeah, he goes full throttle in everything he does.
A lot of the Barryisms, like the love of rap, that's Troy. In basketball, well, my brother loves basketball too, but a lot of Barry is actually Troy as well. They're very similar.
I'd have to say best big brother I could wish for on TV.
He just delivers things and does things in ways that I couldn't picture it. And then like he does it and I go, oh!
Oh, winner!
And he's much funnier than he knows that he is.
Breaking.
How does any of this help me? I need to learn how to dance with a girl.
Casting Adam was really hard. I mean, that's me casting myself as a 12-year-old kid.
Feels like we'd spent months looking for the character of Adam. And then 2 days before we were going to start shooting, Sean comes in the room.
When I was out here doing a voiceover for a Cartoon Network show, they were like, how about you audition for this?
And he was hilarious. He's from Chicago. He had done 1 commercial. What are you doing out here? I'm here on a business trip. A business trip? You're 12, 13 years old, whatever you were at the time.
And because it was just a regular kid, we were like, that's what I would have done if I was that age. And that's how Sean got it.
Over the weekend, they're like, okay, you got it? Like, we're going to start filming on Monday or something. I'm like, oh, geez. So we flew back for the weekend, and then we came back here. So it was really fast.
Stop with the camera!
Footage of that I got for Adam was that he was just always laughing, and he loved watching his family just mess up almost, and just kind of laugh at their little nuances that they had.
Sean, he's the nicest person I've ever worked with.
Do you know how many tweets I get saying, my 12-year-old wants to marry Sean? I don't know what they think I'm going to do about that. But Sean, he is delicious.
I have always wished that I had a sibling growing up, but now that I've worked on the show and seeing, how siblings actually interact with each other growing up, it's kind of okay that I'm an only child.
Still got it.
When we tested the pilot, the relationship between the Adam character and the Pops character was probably one of the highest testing tandems in the show because you got a grandpa telling his son about how to cop a feel.
And you can't just go in and honk them. It's all about the cuppage. Be gentle. Those puppies are sensitive.
Some people might be put off by that, but not with George because he's so sweet in the way he does it.
I saw he was a finger-popping mover, and with all the bling.
Villager that goes like this in the background.
It's wild, to be working opposite him. I have to pinch myself.
Every time he comes on set, I cannot believe that I'm working with George Siegel.
He has the best laugh of anyone I've ever met in my entire life.
He kind of tries to give me little tips that could help me.
I just encourage him like everybody does, because he gets it on his own.
Look at the eye closest to the camera. I'd have never gotten it.
First one to fall asleep gets their bra frozen.
Why are you in here?
People say Beverly was the original helicopter mom.
The real Beverly Goldberg told me that they really downplay how intense and much of a smother she was.
I met the real Beverly in November. We had already been filming a while, and I was nervous about meeting her because it was too late to change my performance.
Do you know how many things I do for you? Things you don't even know anything about? So sue me if I want you to sit in a chair that's not a disgusting fart trap that ruins the scheme of my entire living room.
Aha! Right there! You did it for you.
Thank God she liked it. She liked me and was very sweet to me and didn't have any criticism. Thank God.
She seems to like my performance, and she told me that her husband wasn't as fat as I am. That gives you an idea of the character. But other than that, I'm doing a great job.
In fact, she wrote me a very sweet note about, look, when I was raising my kids, I didn't know what I was doing, and, it reminds me of all the fun times we had when they were little and all the nice times I had with my dearest Murray, because Murray's not with us anymore. And it was very sweet, very touching. And, I think all parents feel like that. No one knows what they're doing. You can read all the books you want, but when it's happening right in front of you, you've just got to improvise.
All right. Here we go. Time for the talk. All right. Before we get down to the nuts and bolts.
Nuts.
A lot of these stories are true. If they didn't come from Adam's family, they came from one of the writers and their own family.
I have a room filled with awesome writers, and they all have their own experiences. Call me when you get there. That a writer brought that in and said, my mom was obsessed with me calling when I got there.
And rule number 10, and this is the most important rule, call me when you get there. Always call me when you get there.
I knew it was an episode when everyone went around the room and had their version of it or their story about it.
Really digging this outfit. Tell me more about this clearly awesome badass.
You're my big brother? That makes you Brand.
When I came up with the Goonies episode, everyone knew it was gonna happen. And everyone fought me to make sure it didn't. Because I think the worry was that it would just seem so narrow, and the show was so universal and spoke to everyone. And the love of one movie, a movie that most writers hadn't even seen or didn't really know, just seemed really worrisome to them. Like it was just gonna only speak to a small group of people.
Turned out to be a lot of people's favorite episodes. We liked it so much that every year I think we want to take a movie that was sort of iconic in the 80s and do an episode built around that in the way that we did the Goonies, which I think will be a lot of fun.
Next year, we are doing a John Hughes movie. We know which one it is, but we are going to let people try and guess and then surprise everybody.
The writers for the show are so great. It makes our job so easy.
Comedy is just one of the things that it is. Most of the time in these shows, I tear up at the end. And they have some music from the 80s, always. And it always gets you because they know how to structure it. They're brilliant at structuring.
There's usually two things we're writing to. A really funny moment.
It's a dancing lady. An angry dancing karate monkey.
And there's a moment, an emotional moment with heart. And those are the two things in every episode we try and do.
My mom used to do the same thing to me, and I swore I'd never do it to you, but here I am doing it. But look on the bright side. One day you'll have a daughter of your own not to trust.
My favorite episode of the season so far is Karate. That one had me laughing the hardest.
That'll break during the show.
That was the greatest thing my eyeballs have ever seen.
People really latched on to mom goggles.
Any scene that we do with the whole family at the dinner table is really fun for me.
Beverly trying to bail her kids out of something, those are my favorite.
And your son tried to get out of it with an absurd note that no parent would ever write.
Perfection. Just any of those things where Beverly can meddle, but it makes sense why she's meddling.
I wrote the note.
I made the decision to set the show in 1980-something. There was never going to be a world where I couldn't do a Flavor Flav joke for Big Tasty, or never a world where I couldn't do any Nintendo jokes because Atari was only out. I decided if it's just this kind of blur of memories, which is how we really remember everything, that if that's how I did the show, then I could really do any story I want. I didn't have to age up the characters unless I really had to. It really could just kind of make the show live in this bottle of the 80s forever.
I don't think the 80s started until MTV premiered. That was that August something, 1981. That's when the 80s started.
In the 80s, I was in junior high and high school. So it was the best time of my life.
After the 70s, it all became almost monochromatic as far as my life was concerned. I was a little out of control in the 70s, which I applaud, because it's all grist for the mill. And if you don't go left long and you don't go right, well, you're never going to know where the center is as you're growing up. Now I'm much calmer.
My mom raised me on Madonna, so that I guess that's to the 80s. Michael Jackson came out in the 80s.
REO Speedwagon, this is top 40.
I get a lot of flack from Jeff and Wendy for having a taste of bad 80s music, like Toto's Africa, REO Speedwagon, Bon Jovi. I mean, these songs are awesome. Now to them, they want like Cure, Duran Duran, early 80s stuff.
I still have Duran Duran albums with lip prints on them. I can still see my lip gloss.
just feels like a more fun time, and the last time that the world was simple. No internet or cell phones.
I like 2010s and 2000s. I think we're pretty good. There's nothing I really want from the 80s back.
It's a Disneyized version of my family, and probably the best version of us on TV that there will ever be.
The truth is, I'm shocked that I'm on a network television show. But Adam is so wonderful. He's a wonderful writer, a wonderful person, and the story of his life is also fascinating to me that it's exciting to do the show. It's exciting to work with Adam. He's about as great a showrunner as you'd ever want.
The jokes are really funny. And the stuff that gets you in here, that's really moving. So it's nice to get both of those into 21 minutes.
The great thing about our cast is they are a family, and they're like my family.
We were with Wendy the other day, and she said, I miss them. They would become like my kids. And that's the feeling on the set.
I am, between the cast and the writers, happy to go to work every day. I do look forward to my naps in my trailer. Don't want to pretend that that's not going on, but I love being with my cast.
We just really became kind of a family already. So it's been great.
The thing that's been most amazing is people of all walks of life, all ethnicities, different backgrounds saying, your dad was my dad, or your mom was my mom. That's when I realized that this is something special because people are relating. And that's all I wanted.